The hall was silent, yet the quiet felt heavy, almost alive. Rows of chairs stretched toward the back, filled with politicians in carefully pressed suits, traditional rulers in flowing agbadas and richly embroidered robes, elders with faces shaped by years of authority, and security officers standing stiff and alert, their eyes scanning the crowd. Cameras clicked softly, microphones caught every movement, and the bright lights above reflected off polished floors, giving the gathering the look of a staged performance rather than a real moment of history. At the center of the hall sat Nigeria's president, Bola Tinubu, composed and attentive, his posture steady as speaker after speaker addressed national concerns. Then a monarch rose from his seat. His name was Igwe Lawrence. He did not storm the microphone or raise his voice. He walked slowly and deliberately, his steps measured, his face calm, his posture carrying the quiet authority of someone who knew exactly what he intended to say. When he reached the microphone, he paused for a brief moment, as though weighing his words against the gravity of the room. Then he spoke. "Free Nnamdi Kanu, and if you do not want him in Nigeria, send him back to Kenya, where he was arrested, or to London." The room froze. Leaves people unsure whether to breathe or move. A few heads turned sharply. Some officials shifted in their seats. A camera operator hesitated, unsure whether to keep filming. Even the security officers seemed momentarily unsure of where to look. The name Nnamdi Kanu does not land lightly in Nigeria. It carries with it decades of pain, unresolved history, and clashing loyalties. To some, he is a symbol of resistance. To others, he represents danger and division. To the government, he is an accused separatist leader. And to millions in the southeast, he is the voice of long-standing frustration. Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, Ipob, a movement demanding the independence of southeastern Nigeria. The idea of Biafra is not new. It was born from the ashes of the Nigerian Civil War of 1967 to 1970, a conflict that claimed more than 1 million lives and ended with surrender but not with healing. The war may have ended on paper, but its emotional wounds never closed. Over the years, resentment simmered quietly until voices like Kanu's gave it new form. Through radio broadcasts, speeches, and public declarations, Kanu accused the Nigerian state of marginalizing the Igbo people and denying them dignity and opportunity. His words traveled far beyond Nigeria's borders, reaching supporters in the diaspora and stirring emotions at home. To his followers, he spoke uncomfortable truths. To his critics, he inflamed dangerous ideas. In 2015, he was arrested. In 2017, he was released on bail. That same year, soldiers raided his home. After that raid, he vanished. For years, no one could say where he was. Rumors spread across continents. Some claimed he was dead. Others believed he was hiding. Then, in 2021, the government announced that he had been captured abroad and returned to Nigeria. What followed only deepened the controversy. Reports emerged that he had been arrested in Kenya and transferred secretly to Nigeria without proper extradition procedures. He was allegedly blindfolded and flown in under conditions that violated both Kenyan and international law. Later, courts in Kenya ruled that the arrest and transfer were illegal. Yet in Nigeria, Kanu remained detained. His trial moved slowly, tangled in legal arguments and adjournments. Each delay fueled anger and suspicion. His continued imprisonment became more than a legal matter. It became political. It became emotional. It became symbolic. Then another layer was added to the story. Years after his detention, Kanu's family released a statement claiming that more than 8 years earlier, he had predicted his imprisonment in Sokoto as part of a path toward his freedom. According to them, he had warned that powerful forces would work to silence him, but that imprisonment would not be the end of his struggle. They said he believed that detention would eventually expose injustice and push the world to pay attention. The family also declared that those working behind the scenes to secure his release would not rest. Their message was clear: this was not just about one man in prison, but about a belief in destiny, endurance, and vindication. When this claim surfaced, it added a strange, almost prophetic tone to the already complex situation. Supporters saw it as proof that Kanu understood the risks of his activism and accepted them. Critics dismissed it as emotional storytelling meant to rally sympathy. But to many, it raised unsettling questions. If he foresaw his imprisonment, what did he expect would come after? This was the context surrounding Igwe Lawrence's statement. By speaking directly to the president, the monarch was not only addressing a political issue. He was touching a nerve that runs through history, law, identity, and belief. Traditional rulers in Nigeria are not ordinary figures. They are custodians of culture, symbols of community conscience, and voices of collective memory. When one speaks in such a forum, it is rarely dismissed as personal opinion. His demand was simple in structure but heavy in meaning. Free Nnamdi Kanu. Or return him to Kenya. Or send him to London. The suggestion of Kenya pointed directly to the controversy surrounding Kanu's arrest. It implied that if the arrest itself was unlawful, then justice demanded correction. The mention of London carried symbolic weight as well, representing distance from Nigerian political tension and a possible path toward de-escalation. Inside the hall, reactions were restrained but intense. Some officials stared straight ahead, avoiding eye contact. Others whispered behind cupped hands. The president listened without interruption, his expression controlled but attentive. Outside the hall, the moment exploded across social media. Videos of the monarch's words spread quickly. Supporters praised him for courage. Critics accused him of interfering in matters of national security. Analysts debated whether such a statement could influence government policy or whether it would be quietly ignored. The question remained, what would happen next? For the government, releasing Kanu carries risks. It could be seen as weakness. It could embolden separatist movements. It could anger those who view him as a threat to national unity. Yet keeping him in detention also carries consequences. It risks turning him into a martyr. It deepens resentment in the southeast. It keeps wounds open and tensions alive. The legal dimension complicates everything further. If international courts have questioned the legality of his arrest, then the issue is not merely political. It becomes a matter of credibility, of Nigeria's image in the eyes of the world. Returning him to Kenya or sending him to London would acknowledge that mistakes may have been made. It would also signal a willingness to correct them. The family's claim that Kanu predicted his imprisonment added emotional fuel to the fire. It turned his detention into a story of fate and foresight rather than mere miscalculation. To his followers, it suggested that suffering was part of a larger plan. To skeptics, it appeared as narrative building. Either way, it reshaped public conversation. As the days passed after Igwe Lawrence's statement, no official response came. No release was announced. No deportation was discussed publicly. Silence filled the space where answers should have been. Yet silence itself speaks. It tells of hesitation. It tells of pressure from many sides. It tells of a leadership weighing stability against justice, order against reconciliation. This moment was no longer about one monarch or one prisoner. It became a test of how Nigeria confronts dissent, how it treats political prisoners, and how it balances authority with fairness. Igwe Lawrence did not threaten rebellion. He did not call for violence. He appealed to reason and peace. His words echoed because they were spoken calmly, not angrily. Because they were delivered in the presence of power. Because they carried the weight of history. Somewhere in detention, Nnamdi Kanu remained confined. Somewhere in the southeast, supporters continued to wait. Somewhere in government offices, calculations continued to be made. The story of Nigeria has always been one of tension between unity and diversity, authority and freedom, law and conscience. This episode simply brought those tensions back into the light. Whether Kanu is released, returned, or remains imprisoned, the questions raised by Igwe Lawrence and by the family statement will not disappear. Was the arrest just? Was the detention necessary? Does keeping him locked away heal the nation or deepen its divisions? History will decide what this moment truly meant. But it will remember that in a hall filled with power, one monarch stood up and spoke words that could not be erased. He asked the president to choose between punishment and correction, between silence and resolution. And it will remember that a family claimed their son foresaw his chains as part of a path to freedom. In a country shaped by stories,